Showdown, showdown. Week 4, battle of the teams. Houston versus Minnesota. Both of our favorites going at it. Both 0-3, I'm pretty sure. So one of us will come out as a victor. One of us will come out as a loser. Maybe some of this will trickle down into the showdown for whatever we're going to call that this week. But yeah, let's get into week 4. I mean, looking at our picks from last week, I just know some of mine really panned out. The Colts defense, special teams, 26 fantasy points. That was huge. Darren Fells, 0 fantasy points. That was huge. And yeah, you want to lead off the QBs for week 4 and what you're thinking for some of these picks?
It's kind of funny because my QBs for this week, my starting 2 are actually in the battle of our loser teams that we have, our 0-3 teams. It's my favorite game of the week when I looked at it. 2 bad defenses going at it, 2 quarterbacks who like to toss the ball. Minnesota gives up the most yards to your deep ball guy, so I like Deshaun Watson this week, actually, a lot against my own team for a fantasy value. He's averaging about 18.5 DK. It hasn't been the best season for him thus far, but I mean, you watched last week, the Minnesota secondary is just getting burned. Khalif Raymond ran by them, I think, 3 times for 40-some yards. And then even you could take any part of that offense against the Minnesota Vikings right now. They're pretty much gashed everywhere on defense. And so I actually like Deshaun Watson. I do like Cousins, but just he never tends to put up a big game like Deshaun will, and Deshaun might call his own number, especially against the Vikings. And then the other guy I like is actually FITZMAGIC, because basically if you play Seattle, you just get into a massive shootout every week and have a 40-point game back and forth. And Fitz likes to just hum the ball every week. Even though they have a bad offensive line, he's averaging 20 DK points. The Seattle defense has given up 397, 472, and 450 to the 3 quarterbacks they've played this far, which is by far the 32nd ranked pass defense in the league. They have played like Cam Newton, Dak, and Matt Ryan, but I mean, they're just giving up throwing yardage, and I expect them to get up early, so that means Fitzmagic's just going to throw the ball. So I actually like him. He's on the cheap end. He's 5,400, and Deshaun's a little more expensive at 6,600. But those are my 2 favorites when I first looked this week.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm kind of rolling still on the Josh Allen train, putting up mid-30 points every single week. They're going into, I don't know if they're at home versus Las Vegas or if they're away, but either way, I don't think anything's stopping them at this point. And until he has a bad week, I'm going to keep rolling with him. I also have Jared Goff versus the Giants. Giants are kind of struggling out there, and I feel like he's been fairly consistent, so putting him in a few lineups this week. And then the last one, I kind of went off the same theory you did with Minnesota-Houston, but I took Cam Newton versus the Chiefs just because Chiefs are going to be on the short week, and if Mahomes gets in a shootout, I feel that'll elevate the gameplay of the Patriots, and we could see Cam Newton throwing up some big numbers.
Yeah, he definitely could. I mean, we're watching Lamar on TV right now, and he's not even throwing the ball. He's pretty much lost right now.
Throwing it away.
7 yards. 7 yards in the first quarter, I think, passing, so that was great to watch. But, yeah, maybe I'll just jump right into the running backs. This was hard, actually. I don't know if you had looked, but I was trying to go down to find a cheap one, and I couldn't. I was like really struggling, so I stuck kind of high, and I started with Kamara. I just think he is the top fantasy value of the week. I think Mahomes might beat him in this game that's on right now, but he was by far the highest DK points guy. They're going up against Detroit, 30th ranked against the run. He's been averaging 36.6 DraftKings points. One risk here is that Michael Thomas is supposed to be back finally after 2 weeks off, so he did get a lot of that passing volume. I mean, last week he had 20 touches and 14 targets through the air, which I don't think will happen if Thomas is there, but overall you'll still see his 5 to 8 targets, and he gets the majority of the run unless they get too far up. And then the other guy, I tried to go down, but I couldn't get too far down. He's 6,500, and that's James Robinson for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's playing Cincy, and 27th ranked run D, averaging 18 touches a game. He's getting all the goal line work, and he's going through 6 and 4 targets through the air the last 2 games. He seems like he's getting the bulk of the workload. in a relatively high scoring probably game. You could run that game back actually with Joe Burrow. Wouldn't be a bad play either. Just now that I'm thinking of it, Jacksonville got gashed by FITZMAGIC. You might as well try that if you want to throw that in. So yeah, what about you? Do you like the running back pool?
So this is funny. I have 3 running backs, and first one I have Alvin Kamara. I mean, I don't think he's even human. He's just putting up crazy amounts of fantasy points. He's worth every penny of the amount you're going to pay for him. But my second running back, James Robinson.
It's not even that expensive.
And James Robinson I had last week. He had 2 TDs, and even though he's running back, he's getting a lot of receptions, so he's getting that extra point for you for all those catches. I think it was 6 receptions, 83 yards, and then 11 rush attempts, 46 yards. So good mix there, good value too. And then the last one I picked was I was going on your train here of Dalvin Cook, just because he's playing the Texans, and the Texans defense has not been very good this year. So could see Cousins giving him the ball, and he could probably escape through and get some pretty good rushing yards, but we'll see.
Yeah, I might have to drop in a game stack at the end that I really like, and it happens to be that game that we're both going to be watching on Sunday. So, but I'm going to jump to wide receivers because it will include one from both sides of that game, actually. But I'll start at the top. My favorite play, probably at wide receiver 6,500, is Keenan Allen. This hinges heavily on if that coach plays Tyrod, because I heard Tyrod might be back and that he's not ruling out that he's not going to start, which shocks me. But overall, he had 19 targets last game. That's massive workload. I think he went 13 for 140 and a touchdown, somewhere in there. He's averaging 8 targets a game. He's new QB, and him seem to have chemistry. The new QB is actually throwing the ball, not running it all the time. And he does get the Tampa Bay deep secondary, who's really weak against the pass, really good against the run, although they have been better against the pass this season. But I don't expect them to be able to stop Keenan Allen. And then I have a counter play in the Minnesota-Houston game. I like playing both these guys in a lineup. Will Fuller, who's just going to burn the secondary, kind of like Khalif Raymond. I mean, pending hamstring injury, but that's he did put up a decent game last game. I wish he was seeing more target share, but 4 for 54 and a TD. But if he gets a couple of those burner touchdowns early and doesn't hurt himself, then I think he could go for 2 long ones and probably 2 TDs off that. Now, like going back to the other side with the cheaper guy, 5,200, Justin Jefferson, the rookie, first-round pick. He looked awesome last week. They finally started forcing the ball to him. They finally started giving him some touches, which is great. He went 7 for 175 and 1 touchdown, and both those were deep balls. He's a deep play guy, and he runs great routes. So he's like the counter to Thielen, where Thielen can be in the middle of the fields. But I like both those guys. That game is just overall going to be high scoring, I think. So.
I had kind of nothing to do with our game. I didn't pick anyone because I know I'm going to pick Will Fuller anyways. One guy I like, though, is Allen Robinson. Him and Nick Foles, I think, are really going to heat up against the Colts this weekend. So that'll be interesting to see. I think it's one worth playing. Another one is Alan Lazard. Same thing. After seeing him it was basically Lazard versus Kamara last night. They were just both getting tons of points. So going in on him with a few of my lineups. But then going into the tight ends here, because I don't have much on tight ends, is I'm going down same as last week. Ali Cox versus the Bears. I don't know how that'll work out. It's just more of the running joke of my tight ends being very low salary, and you just hope for the best. And then the next one here, Hunter Henry. They're playing the Bucks. Kind of same kind of as your Keenan Allen pick here. 5 receptions, 50 yards, very affordable. I'll probably play him more than Mo Alley Cox. That's more of a gimmick. Probably Darren Fells in there too, or Jordan Akins. Yeah. But yeah, who do you have for your tight ends?
Yeah, I like both those guys actually. The funny part was Mo Alley Cox actually ran more routes than Jack Doyle, and Jack Doyle played that whole game. Jack Doyle didn't even see a catch or a target, so they might be converting over to Jack Doyle being the blocker more than Mo Alley Cox. But tight end, I actually liked Schultz, going back to Schultz for the Cowboys. And he's 4,300 against Cleveland. Cleveland's always been known as a flow chart defense where they just give up yards to the tight end and they're really bad in the middle. And that's been for 3 seasons now, so I like going there with that. And Dak's throwing the ball a ton, 400 yards in every game so far. And then actually in the same game you just talked about, but going on the other side of the ball, Jimmy Graham for the Bears. Him and Foles had a connection, and it's a tough defense. The Colts is by far one of the best defenses in the league, but he saw 10 targets last game, and he ran 42 pass routes in that game, which is huge for a tight end. So I expect him to kind of pick up and keep getting kind of those 8 to 10 yard gains. I'll just roll right into defense while I'm here. But I like the Colts still against Chicago. The Colts, going back to them, they're too cheap to me on DK for what they did last week. 3 INTs in the last 2 games, a safety in each of the last 2 games. Foles came in, he still got picked and sacked once in that game last week against Atlanta, so I don't see that changing. And Trubisky got 2 picks and I think 1 sack too. So I expect them to still give up lots, even though Foles might be a better passer. I think he'll get sacked. He's a little slower than Trubisky. He's not a running quarterback. And then I couldn't find a cheap one, very cheap. It's 2,700. I went to the Panthers. I forget who they get, but they haven't been great, but there's not much I like lower than like 3K. So I just went there because they've been getting picks the last 2 games, had relatively tough matchups, and still played quite well. And so that was the one below 3K I liked. So
I've going off the. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I just have a feeling I'm thinking Vikings could be pretty good, even though I know Houston's gonna win. I just feel Deshaun's still he's throwing, I think, almost a record amount of interceptions. I think he had like 7 or something all of last year, and he's already had 6 or something stupid like that. So he'll probably, I could see him getting sacked, throwing the ball away maybe once or twice. I feel like it's a decent pick, reasonable price. Anything could happen in that game. I don't really know. Second one I have is the Rams, just because I kind of want to see Aaron Donald eat that offense up. But that's a bit expensive, more of an expensive pick. Could be okay. And then the very last one I had was the Seahawks. And then I don't really know why I picked them, but then I listened to you talk about them being very bad, so I just kind of highlighted it in red, and I wasn't going to talk about it. But it's funnier if I just throw it out there that I picked them, but now I'm not going to pick them.
It could be great you're going up against Miami. It really doesn't matter. You need like 1 pick 6 or a fumble recovery, right? Like that's really what a defense needs. And the Colts got 2 of those pick 6s last week. I was going to throw in before we finished the stack I love of the week. I like going Deshaun Watson to Fuller, run back with Dalvin Cook and Jefferson. So a full 4-man stack, but leaving Cousins out of that. But that's really lean.
I feel like Fuller and Deshaun are finally starting to get each other going. And last week it was nice to see Will Fuller finally get a few catches that were some bombs and not just getting a few yards here or there or targets and then not getting anything. So I don't know. This game will be interesting. It'll be I'm sick of, I thought Houston was going to beat Pittsburgh, and then that was very devastating when that didn't happen.
Yeah, I had the same problems, so I had to watch them give up their 14-point lead, and then on the last drive when they need yards, they go backwards by I think 20-some yards because Cousins misses the snap, and then he takes 2 sacks, and now you're 4th and 24. Like, I don't understand it. Like, just logically, it was the worst drive I've ever seen.
Yeah, no fun. Yeah. But going back to our videos then here, I mean, I don't know who's watching them, but we keep getting more and more views, more and more likes. So hopefully this one, get it out on Tuesday. So our goal is to be 48. That's our highest right now, and we're rolling. 4 videos.
Yeah, throw a comment down below of your favorite game stack maybe of the week. It's early in the week. We're looking on Monday, so
if we can get a little
discussion going.
If we can get, and one more comment every week, we'll be good. In a year, we'll have like 365 comments.
Yeah, there we go. Well, yeah. Cheers to the fantasy happy hour.
Yeah, go water.